What began in June 2024 as a space to amplify autistic and neurodivergent voices has grown into something far bigger. A platform for raw, honest conversations about neurodivergence, disability, burnout, inclusion, mental health, and how our identities shape the way we move through the world. From the start, our mission has been clear: to go beyond the headlines, beyond stereotypes, and explore the real lived experiences that often go unheard. Over the past year, we've spoken with parents, professionals, educators, advocates, and everyday people, all united by a commitment to building a more inclusive and accessible world. But what's mattered most is the community. Those of you who listen, share, and remind us, finally, someone gets it. Thank you for being here. This is just the beginning.
Looking for authentic conversations that go beneath the surface? Tune in now to the Deep Dive podcast. Visit us at www.deepdiveau.net. That's deepdiveau.net. And follow us across your favorite platforms: YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, and Facebook. Just search at the Deep Dive AU. Join us as we dive deep into stories of neurodivergence, lived experience, and creating a more inclusive world. The Deep Dive podcast. Conversations that matter. Stories that connect.
This is the Deep Dive podcast. And here is your host, Michael Coles.
Find Your Voice is a family-driven initiative created by a team of neurodivergents, designer dad Steve, early years educator mum Tara, and their autistic daughter Miss A. Based in Melbourne, Australia, their journey began with a need. Their daughter often experiences verbal shutdowns, especially in high-stress environments, and they wanted to help her communicate more comfortably. They tried several sets of cards, but they were quickly rejected by their daughter for being too cringe or too babyish. So they took matters into their own hands. Using their invaluable lived experience, they created their own set of self-advocacy and communication cards, which quickly got translated to a digital app, and Find Your Voice was born. Tara Harnwell-Jones, welcome to the Deep Dive.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So what patterns or early warning signs have you noticed in your daughter, such as body behaviour or facial expressions, that typically precede a verbal shutdown?
For our daughter, I think the biggest thing that we see is actually very subtle, or at least it starts very subtle. So we'll see just a little bit of withdrawal, some maybe finger twiddling, skin picking. And I think, you might not even notice it for some people. If you're not looking for it, you might not see it. But they're the really early signs, and then it will become a little bit more obvious. So she'll actually physically withdraw, maybe hide her face, that kind of stuff. So then it starts becoming a bit more obvious, and you can see that there's something going on.
Okay, so how often does verbal shutdown occur in your daughter's daily life, and what kinds of situations most possibly trigger it?
It used to happen daily, several times daily, but thank goodness it's definitely tapered off. I think that's because we've got better at noticing those cues and those subtle signs, and then also because we've given them more tools to manage it. But they still happen, just less frequently. So instead of every day or several times every day, if they happen, it's usually maybe once a day at the moment. And usually it would be around something where she feels some pressure. So say, for instance, we're leaving the house, we're on a time schedule. Do you want to wear this thing or this thing? She starts to get a bit dysregulated, and then you can see those signs. And if we don't get in early enough to give her the support to stop it becoming a meltdown, that's when we go down the road of a meltdown.
Okay, so before Find Your Voice, which is your organisation that you founded, how did you and she try to manage or respond when a verbal shutdown happened, and what worked and what didn't?
Oh, there was a lot of trial and error. I think I made a lot of mistakes. I think especially initially, especially pre-diagnosis, we kind of felt, or I felt, can only speak for me, in a way of, oh, she's just been stubborn. Oh, why won't she answer? Just answer the question, and got really frustrated. And that was really obviously not helpful, because that didn't give her what she needed. But slowly but surely kind of firstly getting to diagnosis and understanding her a bit more and understanding a lot more about autism and reading a lot more and digging down and looking around what tools were available, we realised that she did need something in that moment, in that gap of, okay, you have something you need to say, you have something you want to say, but you can't say it, and it is can't, not won't. And I think I made the mistake of thinking it was won't pretty early on. And I think as soon as we had that realisation of she can't do it, she just physically cannot do it, her nervous system has gone too far down the dysregulation path and she cannot do it. And then that was when I started looking at tools to say, okay, what is out there to support her? What can we give her to still give her a voice, to still give her a way of communicating, but that just eases the pressure? And that's kind of how we ended up going down the road of communication cards. And our ones came about purely under the basis of, we bought several sets of communication cards, had a look around, found some, bought them just to give them a try. And she wouldn't use them because she said they were, in her words, ugly and babyish. And so because of that, we decided that we had to make something. And it just so happens Dad's a graphic designer, so it was in his wheelhouse to come up with something. And so that's what we did.
Okay, so how has using the app or printable cards with the Find Voice app and the printable cards changed the way you or her cope with moments of verbal shutdown?
I think it is several pronged, but initially it's that the fact that she now knows she has a way to be heard has really, it really de-escalates just in the fact that she knows there's a tool that she can access. So first off, she just has it in the back of her mind now. Okay, I cannot verbalize, I can't speak, I can't use my voice, but there is something there that I know I can be heard with. So that de-escalates it in itself. But then outside of that, I think the way that we use the cards, particularly if she uses the printed cards, I've got them a set here. The way that we use the printed cards for her is that we'll say to her, do you need your cards? Or sometimes she'll just grab them. But just the pure way that she will flick through to find what she wants to show us, it's almost like a little stim of its own. It's just a gentle, slidey, and it takes the focus. So because she's focusing on that, often it just, relaxes her enough to take the focus off whatever the dysregulation was around, and just to kind of give her mind that moment of breathe. Doesn't have to be fast, doesn't have to be pressured, and it just slows everything down a bit. So that, I think that's one of the ways that it helps her. Sometimes we don't use these. Sometimes we use the app, depending on where we are and what we're doing. Just trying to open my phone to show you. So she'll go into the phone, or I'll go into the phone, or iPad, because we use it on the iPad as well. And again, it's another kind of almost a distraction and a different thing to look at, to view, just to take the mind away from whatever it is that's pushing her over the edge and starting to get her really dysregulated. So she'll just scroll and then find the one she wants. And sometimes she doesn't find the one she wants. Sometimes she'll scroll through and there's not something that says exactly what she wants to say, but she'll pick something that's close enough. And that can just start a conversation. And often that's enough just to stop the meltdown happening, and we can then move on.
Okay, so are there any particular cards or communication prompts that she prefers to use during most shutdowns, and why do you think those are more effective than others?
There are definitely some favourites. One of them is I'm not impressed, which we put in purely based on her because it's something she uses a lot. And it looks like her too. I'm just trying to locate it. And of course, because I'm looking for it, I can't locate it. So this is definitely one of her favourites. We kind of say she pulls that face anyway. So it's quite key for her. But there's some that are things like I'm frustrated, I'm excited, or just looking at some others that are her favourites. I feel frustrated is definitely one. I feel worried is another really strong one. And I feel overwhelmed. They're probably the ones that she uses the most. And I think that's often because those are hard things for her to articulate. She's not quite sure how that fits. And so those cards just give her that option to feel like she can tell us without her feeling like she's telling us the wrong thing, which often isn't the case, but it's just how she perceives it. It's how she feels we're going to react or respond to her. So yeah, they're definitely her favourites, I would say.
Okay, so in moments of shutdown, what supports from you or from an environment feel safe, serving or helpful versus what supports feel intrusive or stressful to her?
She's definitely a cozy, quiet space type of girl. She loves to go into her own space and have her comfy, quiet space to use. And so we've tried to ensure that she has that. She's got a tent in her room that she goes to, and she'll just retreat to that if she feels she really needs to be in a space by herself. I think it's recognizing that she gets peopled out, and when she's done with people, she's done with people, and she just needs to be in a room. And I think we used to battle the whole thing like, oh, she's not eating dinner at the table, she needs to eat with the rest of us and all that kind of thing. And once we started letting those things go and acknowledging and allowing, okay, it's okay she eats in her room. Who said the rule that you have to eat at the table with everybody else? Where did that come from? As soon as we eased all those pressures, dysregulation again was happening less and less. So I think it's about understanding what she needs and putting that into action and not feeling the pressure, because that's a big thing to feel the pressure of what everybody else is doing.
Okay, so how do you balance giving her space during shutdown with maintaining connection so she doesn't feel abandoned or isolated?
Oh, that was a hard one as well, I think, in the beginning, because she will often say, go away, I don't want you here. And so I'd leave, and then that would escalate the dysregulation, and the meltdown would get worse. The aggression might get worse, the kicking out, whatever it was looking like at the time. And we came to realize after talking to her once she was calm was actually she didn't want us to leave. She didn't want to be on her own. She just didn't want us to confine her or for her to feel confined, even if that wasn't what we were physically doing, or to pressure her. So I think the big learning has been give her time, give her space. And the cards allow that, but us learning to do that, allow that as well. So I think it's staying in the room if she needs us to, being nearby, but not trying to get reactions, not trying to get answers, not trying to get responses. It's like quiet space. I'm here. Sometimes she'll reach out and she'll hold your hand. Sometimes she'll ask for a cuddle. Sometimes she'll, just creep a little bit nearer, just wants to have a little bit of physical contact, that kind of stuff. So I think it's a really hard balance, and, everybody wants something slightly different. So that can be tricky, but I think we've learnt to read when to step in and when to step back, when to offer the cuddle, when not to offer the cuddle. You see the body language relax a little, and it's like, okay, we see now that there's movement, and we can start to move forward.
Okay, so after a shutdown, how do you help her recover emotionally, socially, and physically? And do you use Find Your Voice in the recovery phase?
Yeah, she's a big cuddler, but it's always on her terms. So it's, again, I think it comes back to giving her that time and space and letting her do it when she's ready. No pressure, it's kind of, it has to be on her time frame and when she feels ready for it. So yeah, we do. She's definitely a big cuddler, and she'll ask for a cuddle. If she's ready to speak verbally, she'll ask for a cuddle with words, but sometimes she's not, and she'll use her cards or the app to say, I need a cuddle now. And that's where it will kind of come in. It's that I need a cuddle, I need a hug. And then usually she's good to go after that. She's not usually someone who takes a super long time to recover from their meltdowns. I know some people take, a really long time to decompress and to start again, but she's pretty good at just saying, okay, I'm good now. I can start again. So.
Okay, so has verbal shutdowns ever led to misunderstandings by siblings, friends, or teachers about a willingness to communicate, and how have you addressed those misunderstandings?
A ton. Yes. I mean, I think a lot of that plays into the fact that a lot of people still don't have a big understanding about autism and how that looks for some people, and the fact that it looks so different for different people. School definitely did not understand where we were coming from when we talked about her having verbal shutdown. Oh, she's fine in school. Oh, no, we don't see that. But we perceived that there was definitely a different side. There was lots of masking going on in school, so obviously that's one side of it as well. But she did use her cards in school, and they did work for her when she had a teacher who put the effort in to learn and to build that rapport and to give her the support she needed to even get those cards out, because there's some trust there of, I'm going to share this with you. Are you going to give me the right response? Are you going to give me back what I need? So when she had a good teacher, that worked brilliantly, but not always. So yeah, that kind of understanding that communication can be hard has been a struggle. Even down to with her brother, who's kind of like, oh, he's a teenager, so, but him understanding what verbal shutdown is, what it looks like, how that presents with his own sister, even though he lives in the same house as her, that comes with struggles. But we're getting better. Lots of practice.
Okay, so how do you collaborate or wish to collaborate with schools, therapists, or other caregivers to incorporate Find Your Voice or other communication supports into a day, especially during shutdown-prone times?
So school we're actually in a new school. So my daughter was in a school where she was bullied. School didn't appropriately react to that. So we ended up moving schools. So she's had a really long period where she wasn't in school, and then now we're in a new school. The new school have been phenomenal. They've embraced the cards. We're just in the process of implementing them across the school, or trying to implement them across the school, so that everyone has access to them. She takes her cards to school, and we actually, one of the problems she was having in school was that she would just leave the classroom without telling anyone where she was going and what she was doing, which is obviously a safety issue. So we made her a card, which was this one. It was just an addition to the ones that already existed. And the school have put these across the whole of their school for everybody to use, so that when someone needs to leave, it's just a little indicator to the teacher, I've left and I've gone to a safe space. They know someone's left. They know they've gone to their quiet room or wherever it is they need to go. So there's a few strands happening with school, but that's working really well. And she feels really supported in school. So ironically, she's got the cards, but she doesn't actually need to access them that much because school are really listening to her. So, it's that whole thing of when your accommodation's right and your supports are right, actually, you don't necessarily need to access them that much. So they're working, which is great. I'm got waylaid and forgotten what else she said. Sorry.
That's all right. I think we've answered the question very well, actually. So are there times when you feel like a burden, like if there's too many options, too cognitively heavy times during a shutdown, and how can that be simplified or adapted?
Yeah, so with the cards, particularly with I think the physical cards, there's a lot of them when you hold them in your hand. It's quite a big, bulky amount. And the reason we ended up with this amount of cards is because those were the ones that Afton, my daughter, wanted. But the whole way that we've set it up is just, it's on a ring. So if you want to halve those, or there's 4 that you use, or there's 10 that you use, whatever, then you can kind of remove some and simplify it down to those most used ones. The ones that are on the app, you can go in and pick or favorite or heart the ones that you use the most. So if there's 5 that you say, I use them all the time, you go in and favorite them, and then you can just use those. So you can just go into your favorites. So it just breaks it down a little, takes some of the overload away. So it's like there's not so much to pick from. We've got some people that have told us they've bought the PDF and then printed it out and just put a few up on the wall. So there's a few that, they're all on the fridge. So yeah, we were concerned when we first did the PDF, there was too many. But then we also found that when we first bought the ones that we trialed from other people, there wasn't enough. That was one of my daughter's complaints, was that there weren't enough things for her to say. She wanted more, which is why we ended up doing a lot more, I guess.
Okay, so what role do sensory or environmental factors like noise, light, transition, and unpredictability play in triggering verbal shutdowns in your daughter, and how have you adapted the environment to reduce those triggers?
They definitely play a factor for her. She's very sensory, so if it's too hot, too cold, the clothes are too scratchy, all of those things have a massive impact on her. I think we've just tried to pare down the environment for her so that it meets her needs, so that she does have, the soft fabrics around her that she needs, the cuddly toy that she needs at hand, the slime, so that everything's there so that she can access it freely. She doesn't have to go find it. She doesn't have to go look for it. It's always where she needs it. And that's the same with the cards. They're kind of dotted around the house. If she needs them, there's usually a set somewhere. So I think they kind of all play together. It's that tools in the toolbox kind of approach. We try and have a bit of everything everywhere. And I guess it normalizes it too. It becomes just part of life. They're not an add-on. It's not a, go and get your special thing. It's just part of her everyday. And because it is part of her everyday, she's less and less conscious or worried about using the tools that she needs. She'll just go get them. I need a so-and-so, I need slime, I need gum, I need whatever. And that's just come second nature, I guess.
So how do you prepare with your daughter about having a verbal shutdown and helping her understand it, anticipate it, and advocate for her needs when it's needed?
So when our daughter was first diagnosed, she was 7, nearly 8. She's now 10. So she's had a diagnosis for about 2.5 years roughly. And we've always, from the minute she got diagnosis, we've talked about her brain type, what that means, how her brain works, how she might perceive the world, what things she may or may not struggle with. So we've been very open about her understanding her brain type. And so I think that's always led to open dialogue about, okay, you had a verbal shutdown. Do you feel ready to communicate now? Can you explain why you felt like that or why it happened? Are you able to talk about the trigger, and all that kind of stuff? And I think because the older she's got and because we've never held back from having those conversations, again, it's become very natural for her. I had a meltdown because she's, you triggered that meltdown because you shouted at me, or, whatever it might be. And I think it's, again, trying to be very relaxed about it and make it her everyday, because it is her everyday. She does get dysregulated. She does have meltdowns. It's her norm. So we roll with that and accept that and try not to make it a big deal, in the sense of you can move on from it. It's okay. You've had that moment. There's no guilt there. There's no shame. There's no, what's the word? There's no punishment attached. There's no, I can't even articulate. There's no reason for her to not be able to pick apart the reasons and understand herself, but she doesn't have to change that. She just needs to understand that. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Okay, so what changes, big or small, would you like to make in your routines, expectations, or household practices to reduce the occurrence or severity of verbal shutdowns?
Ooh, I think don't want to speak too soon. At the moment, I feel like we've hit a sweet spot. we've we have, like I said earlier, we have very few verbal shutdowns at the moment. But then only one thing has to change within the daily routine, or the planning, or something only has to slightly shift, and that can change again. But at the moment, we're in a really good place. I think the thing I would like to facilitate is for her to be able to have confidence that when she goes into new spaces and meets new people, she can have that same experience. Because at the moment, those things are happening in her safe spaces. Home is a safe space, school is a safe space, and she has friends whose houses she goes to, and they are safe spaces. And they're places where she knows she can utilize those tools that she's got and she's put in her toolbox, so she can use all those things. But that's within a very safe space. And I guess the world is a wide space, and I'd like her to be able to spread that skill that she's learned into other places.
Okay, so looking forward, how would you like your daughter and your family relationship to evolve in relation to communication and shutdown? For example, more trust, more alternative communication, more autonomy, and what role could Find Your Voice play in that vision?
I guess at the end of the day, I'd like to think that she wouldn't experience verbal shutdown. That would be in an ideal world, but I think that's unrealistic. At the end of the day, she is autistic, and it is part of her. And I kind of feel like life will always have parts that will be overwhelming. We all have parts that become a struggle, or we don't know how to cope or manage. But I just want her to know that she does have skills, and she does have the ability, and she does have the support to be able to cope with those verbal shutdowns if they do happen, and that she can reach out, and that she can draw on herself to be able to manage and to cope. And if she can't draw on herself, then there are tools around her that she can use. I just want her to feel like she can be heard. And I think the more we publicize different tools, different types of AAC, that the more people know these things exist, the more it becomes just part of regular daily life, and the more it's not a big thing, and the more people feel comfortable to use them. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for her.
And one last question we'd like to ask every single person here on the Deep Dive podcast. If there's one bit of advice you'd like to give in 30 seconds or less, what would that be?
Ooh, that's tricksy. Breathe. Take it slow. You don't have to fix everything in one go. I guess I'm talking from a newly diagnosed angle here. You don't have to fix anything, but you don't have to solve everything in one go. There's lots of time, and it's about finding your sweet spot. It's not measuring you or your family against anybody else, because it will be different for everybody else. So you have to find what works for you, and not worry about everybody else.
And on that note, Tara Harnwell-Jones, thank you so much for being part of the Deep Dive podcast today.
Thank you, Michael. I'm glad we got to chat at last.
To find out more and to download the app, go to find-your-voice.com.au